I want to tell you something before I start this story. I've gone over this night thousands of times, and every single time I arrive at the exact same conclusion. I should have called the police. I didn't. I never discovered what was making that sound inside his boat. I still don't know if I'm haunted by an overreaction or if I simply waited until the situation was already over. It's the one story I've never been able to let go of. The kind of memory that sticks because of what you didn't do. When we override our survival instincts with hesitation, the resulting ambiguity leaves a psychological scar that never quite heals. I've owned a boat since I was 19. I eventually found a marina that was quieter than most. It was a place of reading, fishing, and watching the water, a sanctuary built on predictable routines and a quiet kind of trust. This marina offered something called a transit slip. It's a temporary spot for boaters passing through, which means you're constantly meeting new people. Most are friendly, but the man who docked next to me that afternoon was different. When his boat started pulling in, I got up to help him dock, which is standard protocol. But he yelled at me before I even reached the edge. He didn't want help, and he didn't want me near his lines. Once he secured the boat, he ignored my introduction entirely. He walked past me with a blank expression, went down into his cabin, and slammed the door. In a small community where everyone relies on one another for safety, this kind of unprovoked hostility stands out. It breaks the social contract, creating an immediate, uncomfortable tension. Then there was the smell. It was heavy and suffocating, radiating from his boat with an intensity that made me take an involuntary step back. It felt like a physical warning. About an hour later, while the man was away at the marina building, I heard it for the first time. Muffled thumping and the sound of breaking glass coming from below his deck. It was irregular, sounding like a struggle being suppressed. This is the cognitive filter of normalcy bias. When our brains encounter data that is truly alarming, we often reflexively reshape it into something harmless. We look for the most mundane explanation possible to avoid the reality of a crisis. I told myself the sounds were just a dog he hadn't mentioned. I was taking terrifying, anomalous data and forcing it into a safe, routine category. When he returned, I mentioned the noise. I told him there was a field nearby if he had a pet. He leaned down and said, "I don't have a dog. It's only me." Then he went back below, and the sound stopped the second he closed the door. There is a specific friction that occurs when someone's words directly contradict what you've heard with your own ears. Choosing to accept the lie for the sake of social peace is the moment the observer begins to lose their perspective. At 3 a.m., I woke up suddenly. The muffled sounds from his boat were louder now, more insistent. Underneath them, I heard the man's voice, low and controlled, but harsh. He kept saying one word, "Shut up." Then one sharp "enough," followed by complete silence. At 7 a.m., I watched him leave the dock with a duffel bag. I stepped onto his boat, and the smell was 10 times worse. I reached his cabin door and found a heavy, custom-installed lock, something that didn't belong on a standard marina door. I knocked and asked if anyone was inside. The sound responded instantly. It was louder than it had been all night, a frantic, rhythmic noise that felt like a direct plea for help. I didn't have a way through the lock, and I didn't know when he was coming back. I went back to my boat and sat in my cabin, staring at my phone. I went through 100 explanations, desperately trying to believe one of them so I wouldn't have to call the police. In moments like this, the most difficult barrier to cross isn't a locked door. It's the internal wall of fear that keeps us from stepping out of our role as a witness. A few minutes later, I looked up. He was standing right outside my window, looking directly at me. He didn't speak. He just watched me for a long moment, realizing I had been on his boat. He didn't start an argument. He simply walked back, untied his lines, and left. Within minutes, the boat and the man were gone. I never saw him again. I don't know his name, where he went, or what was behind the lock. I'm left only with the questions I can't answer. But the detail that stays with me is how that sound responded when I knocked. It didn't just happen, it reacted to a human voice. Intuition is actionable data. When we rationalize away these red flags, we become silent participants in the outcomes we were in a position to change. If you've seen something that didn't feel right and didn't act on it, you're not alone. Subscribe to Cases Untold for more stories and share your own in the comments below.